Hi, I'm Cindy.
And I'm Danielle.
Welcome to Unapologetically Females.
We wanted to create a fun, non-judgmental space where women can talk about their shared experiences.
Here we will normalize the challenges we face as females living in a society that dictates unrealistic and outdated expectations on what a woman should be.
Together, we hope to cultivate a supportive community of women who empower one another to courageously live unapologetically.
A quick disclaimer before we get started. Although Cindy and Danielle are licensed therapists, this podcast is not to be interpreted as therapy or a replacement of therapeutic services. It is strictly a conversation between two women about their experiences in the world. If you liked today's episode, please make sure to like and subscribe below. Also, follow us on all of our social media platforms at Unapologetically Females. With that being said, we hope you enjoy this episode.
We're back.
We're back. Like it or not. For you guys, the listeners, we love it.
Yeah. Apparently, we love to hear ourselves talk.
Apparently.
So today's episode is talking about working moms, which thankfully we have some context for.
We do. We have a little experience in that.
Yeah. So how about we start off and just kind of share like what we do, what we've done, and as far as in the context of being a working mom, what roles have you played and where have you worked?
So as we've mentioned before, my kids are 22 and 19, so no longer kids. They're considered adults. But when they were really little, I started out actually in pharmaceutical sales when we had our first. And to be really transparent, we got pregnant more quickly with her than we had planned. And so I, at that point, was scheduled to go back and get my master's in mental health counseling. And because my husband was a resident at the time, it just didn't make sense for me to be in school and him to be in residency and to have a young baby. So I stayed in pharmaceutical sales, but quickly realized that I was doing most of the parenting and really missing my child. So I for a short time, opened up my home to neighborhood kids and parents and ran an in-home daycare so that I could stay home with her. And in the meantime, got pregnant with our second and did that for a few years. Became a preschool teacher when our second went to preschool, mostly for the tuition cut, which was great, but also because I loved teaching and I loved that age group. Fast forward, did that for a few years, then helped my husband open a new practice. So took some time off, did some marketing, things like that. Did a lot of substitute teaching, loved that. Long-term subbing in kindergarten mostly, loved that. And then eventually realized that it was time for me to go back to school like I had planned 20 years prior. So went back, got my master's. As I did that, I worked with at-risk youth in inpatient facility. I also, as you know, worked on the reservation, getting some experience in trauma, and working with mostly kids and teens as I was getting my degree. And then I also worked in intensive outpatient and still do for eating disorders. And so that is a very long explanation of my many different roles in my work life as I was a mom. I think when my kids were younger, my husband still works all the time, so I was always the primary parent. So I tried to do jobs where I could be available for things like parent-teacher conference and birthday parties, and I was the go-to for all of that. So I wasn't necessarily a stay-at-home mom, but I tried to be as much of the available parent as possible. And now that my kids are grown, which is why I mentioned in the beginning, now, I can really throw myself into my career.
It's so funny because when you go over your resume, your extensive resume, everything fits you. It's just like so funny because I'm like, I could totally see you as a pharmaceutical sales rep at that time in your life. And then I can totally see you in the classroom with little kids and like being a kindergarten teacher and doing an in-home daycare. And now I see you like flourish as a counselor.
Flourish is hope. That's hopeful. That's my goal.
It's all of ours, right?
Yeah.
So it's just funny because it's like all of those things I feel like are just so fitting for you. You found like multiple avenues that have been very complimentary, I would feel like, to your personality and who you are.
They also taught me a lot, you know, and brought me to the point where I'm at now in my career, you know, because I know that I love to work with kids and teens, and, you know, sales teaches you so much when you're young. I didn't like it, but it taught me a lot. And then just working with kids and seeing them from a classroom point of view really encouraged me to get my degree in counseling and really help from that standpoint of kids need somebody else in their lives besides just their family to help them sort things out sometimes.
Yeah. So I'll share a little bit about my work history as a mom. I had kids, I don't know, I say later in life. I think in today's standards, it feels like more
Pretty
and more,
normal.
women are
Yeah.
having kids into their 30s, so, and beyond. So I went back to school and got my master's in social work. So I graduated in May. I had been in the field working already, though, a little bit. I had done some school social work. I had a lot of experience at that point with community mental health. I had also worked with refugees for a period of time. So I had been exposed to the field because my undergrad was also in social work. So I had definitely started working within the field and with people already. But after my master's, we had decided the month that I was graduating, I had said, well, okay, I'll stop taking birth control. Now, because rumor has it, it like takes 6 months to get out of your system anyways. And so when we're ready to have a kid, October-ish, you know, hopefully we won't have any issues, or, you know, the plan will come to light.
Of course.
You
It's
know?
always going to work out exactly the way we plan. Yes.
So I went off birth control after being on it for, a very long time, 10 plus years probably. And within 2 weeks, we conceived a baby.
Wow.
2 weeks.
Look at you, Fertile Myrtle.
Yeah. So, it was like, okay, well, that whole 6-month thing didn't stick.
Nope.
So, we got pregnant, and I was really just starting out my career in the sense of in like a leadership type role. So I was a very young leader at that point in time. Young, not by like chronological age, but just as an experience at that point. And so I was offered an opportunity to move about an hour and a half south to another city, where my mom is actually from, and open a branch down there of where I was already working, and be the supervisor down there and really build the programs in this town. And so I had agreed to that before I was pregnant. But nonetheless, we decided, okay, let's go. It's a good opportunity. This is a good stepping stone. So we moved when I was, I don't know, 4 to 6 weeks pregnant, maybe. I had my daughter. We had my daughter down there. And 6 months, probably like 5 months after she was born, I just was like, I don't know how people raise kids and work without like first time mom, and without my parents around. And we definitely had supports where we were at. But, it's, just being away from my parents and my brother, and he had kids. And I'm like, I want my kids to grow up around his kids, and super important to me. And so thankfully I was given an opportunity to move back up to the greater Phoenix area and stay in a leadership role at that point. And so we made the move when my daughter was, like I said, I think 5 or 6 months back home. and since then, I have worked in the same place, and started out there just I started out as a therapist, a community-based counselor, and currently my sitting role is the chief operating officer.
Yeah, it is.
So
yeah, it is. And for those of you listening, let me just say, getting there was an amazing feat. Yeah.
It's been a journey, and I mean, it's so. And I will say, it's not the only thing I'm doing. Obviously, I'm currently talking on a podcast,
Right.
so
Fair.
we're doing this. We have our our Unapologetically Females brand that we're building and consulting practice that we're building. I also am doing supervision and overseeing supervision for clinical hours for individuals, and then also dabbling in private practice as well. So so there's kind of 3 hats that I'm currently juggling.
Yes, I'm in that juggle-a-thon with you.
Yes.
Is that a word? Juggle-a-thon.
We
yes,
just made it.
We just made it. Look it up.
Yeah.
With this fun part of our journey, the podcast, and then private practice, and then also doing intensive outpatient. So it's a lot. It's a lot. And I do want to say, like, thankfully I have a lot of supports in place. And my husband is able to stay home with the kids and really support the all of the traveling and the pickups and the drop-offs and the after-school activities and dinner and all of that. He's able to really, really support me and handle that. Can we talk about how supportive he is of you?
Oh.
I mean, seriously.
This is his favorite topic.
It should be. I mean, my goodness. So one day Danielle says, we're at a training for...
Okay, I'm so ridiculous. I'll say it ahead of time before she starts talking. I get it, okay? I know. I'm working on it, kind of. Go ahead.
So we're at a training. It's like a 2 or 3 day training. And we're getting up, going, driving a little ways to get to this training. And I noticed she's a bit disheveled. Never disheveled. But this morning, she's a bit disheveled. And I'm like, what's going on? Nothing. My husband didn't make my coffee this morning. And I think you and I are going to have to go get something to eat because he didn't pack my lunch. And I like checked myself before I gave the tone of voice that I wanted to with like shock and awe. And I was like, so describe your morning routine for me with your husband. He brings you your coffee?
I start to get ready and he'll bring in my coffee to the bathroom. Well, that particular morning, I kept looking over and he was still in bed. And I'm like, oh.
Mind you guys, the training was on a weekend, so this was like a Saturday.
Right. Makes me sound worse and worse by the moment.
I'm not trying to make you feel bad. What I'm trying to do is just say there are relationships out there where this happens, which I was not aware of.
So Cindy looked at me and goes, oh, poor you. While you were pissed off about not getting coffee promptly, I was sneaking into the other bedroom to blow dry my hair because I couldn't wake up my husband.
Yeah,
I didn't want to wake up
I had to go across the house to blow dry my hair. Meanwhile, you're like, where's my coffee, bitch?
Yeah. Yes. Okay, so, well, it's really hard when someone sets a standard.
I am, this is completely out of jealousy. That is entirely where this is coming from.
What's funny, though, is like...
And props to him, too.
He's amazing. Yeah. He's great. And also, I grew up with a dad who was very... attentive. Very, very attentive and similar in those ways. He also cooked and was very much like pampering, and nurturing and all the things, and took care of, a lot of the what you quote unquote female duties, so I think I had that modeled as a kid growing up.
And that's a different podcast, but I do think that that's so important for kids to have that male role model in that way, of being kind of malleable too. There is no man or woman role or
Right.
one partner versus another partner role, that it's a team.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big part. I think, probably initially on in that dynamic of him staying home. So he worked while I went to school. He supported me. I lived with him at that time. It was before we were married, and I didn't pay rent or anything like that. Like, he fully supported me through that process. And when we decided to have kids, it was important for us that one of us could stay home. And seeing as that I was very new into my career, I wasn't going to be that one. Like,
Right,
we
right.
had decided it made sense for me to
Sure.
be the one that worked and him to stay home. And so along the way, like, I have grown a lot within my career over the last 8 years.
Yeah.
And I, you and I, like, we sit and start talking, and like within like 30 minutes we have like 32 new businesses.
Right.
It's just who we are. It's so
So
ridiculous on every level.
It is, because there's no way we can accomplish all.
Yeah, and maybe we can. So I think when we had originally decided that the way that we wanted to raise our kids was one of us to be able to stay home, we had decided it would be me because I was new in my career. There was a lot of goals. We were, he was very supportive of that. And I think initially it was, people would ask, when we would be out in social settings and things like, so what do you do for a living?
Right. Yeah.
And I think that was an interesting, challenging, weird kind of like question to, like, I don't think that we were necessarily aware or prepared for maybe some of the feelings that it would bring up.
Yeah, I could see that.
Or awkwardness, I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah.
And so that, I don't know, nowadays it's like we've been doing it for as long as we have, that it's doesn't phase us, I don't think. And more so it's like, yeah, we get, like, he gets to stay home with the kids. Like, we're super lucky. Like,
Right.
it's amazing. But definitely I think for him, and it was almost like having to over explain, or for me having to like acknowledge I think that people would be like, oh, he stays home with the kids. And then I felt like people didn't think that not only did he stay home with the kids, but like he held down the house, like does all the cooking, does all the grocery shopping, does all the cleaning, does the laundry for for the kids, for himself. I have a problem with people touching my laundry, so he doesn't do mine.
He's probably grateful for that.
Yeah. But so I think that has been an interesting layer to it. But I am very much so. I would definitely consider myself a workhorse, if you will, I guess.
Yeah. No, I think there's two interesting things there that come to mind for me. One, you probably, and now you replaying it, I didn't realize how stuck we are in our norms as a society to meet a new couple and for the couple to automatically ask him, oh, what do you do for a living?
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And I get that all the time because I'm married to a doctor. I live in, a nice part of Phoenix, and people just assume that I stay home and that I don't have a career, and people never even ask me.
That's so wild.
They don't even ask me what I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I could see how for you guys that plays out, knowing how it has played out for me. For sure. And then when people do find out, oh, she has a career. Oh, good for you.
Exactly.
Oh, wow. And I'm
which
like,
is interesting because we get a similar reaction, but I think it's only out of discomfort. Do you know what I mean? Where people are like almost feel bad that they asked him what he did. So like, oh, well, you guys, okay. And it's like almost overly done.
And I think that's true for me too, though.
Yeah.
People are like, oh, sorry, I didn't ask.
Right.
Like shame on me for not asking. And maybe that's a good sign of our times, of how our, we're changing in our ideas of roles and norms and things like that. So that was interesting to me when you said that. And then I had another one, and I can't think of it, but I'll think of it. It'll come back to me.
I think the other piece is that, because, the role that I'm currently in my, like, essentially 9 to 5, is it is a demanding role, and it is something that
For sure.
I really pride myself in not half-assing my work. And so when I show up completely.
I've worked for you. I can attest to that.
And
for
so
sure.
I think that, like being able to give my all when I'm working, being able to, in every facet with every job and role that I play, and then coming home at the end of the day and still trying to give my all to my kids and
Yeah.
family and my husband is definitely, I think a work in progress, because that's a lot. It's definitely a lot. And I think when I do share that my husband stays home, people, I think I've had two kinds of responses, or two things I've felt. And one is a sense, like a judgment, of not being home with my kids. And also the other side of it is, people thinking like, oh, well, since like you must feel like it must be okay that you're working full time. Like you don't have, that I wouldn't have feelings about being away from my kid because they're home with my husband.
Right.
And so
Interesting. Yeah.
that has been, just interesting to navigate, because at the end of the day, like, regardless that I'm aware that I'm very lucky that he gets to be with the kids. And at the same time, I'm very aware that I'm not,
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly. Yeah.
And not that I would change it. Like, it is what we decided. And I am very happy with, how we're doing things. But there's a lot of guilt that I carry and have to work through, and that I feel when, when I'm not the one picking them up after, my daughter up after school. My son's not in school yet, but, or, something ties me up at work. Like I remember, my daughter had like the end of the year parent child soccer match. And, it had been like a really long week and just so many things going on. And I really, really wanted, like, I wanted to go and play and be there for that. And something came up at the end of the day at work that just tied me up, and I couldn't go. And I remember driving home just sobbing.
Yeah.
And I was just so upset, that I missed that. And she didn't say anything. Like, it wasn't like, I don't know if she did or didn't feel it. I mean, she didn't say anything if she did. But at the same time, like, that guilt that I carry. So it's been interesting. It's been hard trying to navigate the like drive that I have and the goals, the personal, professional goals that I have for myself, and the mom guilt that I constantly have kind of just, it's always there. It's always just
For sure.
right around the corner.
I can hear that loud and clear. And as you were saying that, my question that in my mind was, do dads have that as much in a traditional, I have a very traditional family type of, living situation, I guess you would say. I mean, for the most part, my husband was the main breadwinner, and I did a few jobs here and there, but I was the parent that was able to be there, things. So I really didn't have to miss out on much. So I feel very, very grateful and blessed to be able to have done that. And I'm thinking, like, my husband driving home from work, having missed something, would he have had the same response that you had?
Right.
Or is that a mother? Is that?
I do think there's a level of the, makeup of a mom.
Yeah.
I do think that it is very, not that men and dads don't have their own
And not
feelings.
that there aren't dads out there that do feel that way.
Right.
100%.
Right. But I do
just
think
wonder to what level.
right. I think that there's just an innate connection. Yeah. In the way that moms perceive maybe how they're being viewed or how they're impacting their children, or the guilt, mom guilt,
So real.
so real
And heavy.
Yes.
Yeah. And I guess like going back to that car ride, driving home, knowing that you were missing the soccer game. Explain that guilt, like, because there's so much more in there than just I'm not there for my child.
Yeah, I think in that specific event, it was. I think it was a lot of things.
Yeah.
There was so much going on at work, and I think I was spread very, very thin. And I think it was consecutive days of getting home late. I think it was consecutive days of me just being done by the time I got home and not being able to give my all to my kids, to my family, to just being exhausted. And I'm naturally an introvert, but when I'm around people, I can be relational, and in my role at work, like it demands me to be in conversation often.
Yeah.
In all of my roles, it's very ironic.
Yeah. Even though you're an introvert, you like to talk.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
But I definitely refuel by being alone. And so it's hard when my life doesn't really allow for a ton of alone time, because for me, the way I feel about it is I'm at work all day long. I come home, my kids deserve and I want to give them my time and attention. Like
Right.
I can't just go lock myself in a room.
Right.
And then my kids go to bed, and I also have a husband. So
Right.
it's like,
Right.
even just he's been around kids all day. Like,
Sure, he needs a break. He needs some adult conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and so I think that for me, that can be really tough because, I'm constantly outputting energy, and in order to refuel and
For sure.
build that energy back up, it's being alone, but being alone is very few and far in between.
Sure. And so probably part of that guilt that you were feeling in that day, and probably many days, is I really need some time to myself, but I also really need to be giving my time to my family.
Oh, yeah.
And then, we've done an episode on the perfect child, of like trying to make things look perfect or seem perfect for our children, or having our children. So by not being at the soccer game, am I not upholding that, view of what our family, my child, me as a mother is supposed to look like?
Yeah.
All the things. I mean, there's so much to unwrap there.
So many layers. It's true. And I think, one thing that I really strived for is being there for, the conference and the doctor's appointments and
Right.
the important or just what the dentist appointment. I don't know how important it is, but it's important to me. Like,
Right. No, yeah, for sure.
My husband and I always used to make a joke about, so it's like you have your first kid and then you're there at the hospital, 24 hours, 48 hours, however long you're there. And then they just send you home.
So true.
You go home.
They're like, here's this little basket with a baby in it.
And like, there's no manual, there's no rules.
Right.
There's like, and
here,
how fun.
Voila.
Keeping somebody alive.
Exactly.
And being responsible for everything.
Yeah.
And it's like, whoa. And so we used to joke that at the pediatrician's office, like if our daughter had, or son even, like if they had like a scrape or something, we're like, oh, we're going to get docked points. Like, we would be like, they're keeping track. It's a point system. The pediatrician must be keeping track. Somebody's watching over us.
Totally.
Do you know what I mean?
Totally. And I need that person to be watching over me to make sure that I'm on point.
So it was kind of funny because we always, and still to this day, do this for the most part, always go to our children's doctor's appointments together. The two of us show up for all.
I love that.
And I'm like, because when they write in those notes, it's going to say both parents present.
Yep.
It's going to say, you know what I mean? Like with the point system, wherever we're at on points, like we've got to be in it together, you know?
Yep.
So,
Totally.
yeah,
Totally.
that is something that we've always done. And so I think that there's certain things and practices and routines that we've gotten into that have been important to me as a mom to show up for every time.
Yep.
And I've been lucky enough within my career that it's been flexible to allow me to do
Right,
that. And I know
right.
that not everybody has that
I
opportunity.
was just thinking that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we have been in positions where we've been allowed to take that time off, but there are definitely jobs where you can't do that,
Yeah.
and that would be really challenging as well, for sure. And we're also in a unique position where we have a partner to raise our children with, and that's not always true. I mean, I think all the time about working moms who are single moms who
Yeah.
are doing it all on their own.
Yeah.
And shout out
Yes.
to all of you, because wow, I mean,
Yeah. I don't believe I would be capable. I don't think that I would have it. Like, I think I would crumble, to be quite honest. I think that I am able to do what I do because I do it with a partner. And that's, I get it. Like, you get in situations and like you just rise to the occasion, right?
right.
But I really am like, I do believe, like, I don't think I would. I see these, single moms out there just crushing it.
Crushing it,
And
yeah.
I'm like, I don't think I don't think I'm that strong.
Yeah.
Like it's hard.
I have not been challenged with that. I have spent a lot of time, due to my husband's career, raising my children, a lot on my own, and that's not even close to what it's like to be a single mom, because I still had somebody to complain to
Right.
take them into the other room when I was losing my shit, like
Right.
all of those things.
That's real.
That is so real. Yeah.
I'm curious. So you decided to go back to school later after your girls were more grown.
Yeah, I planned it so that my youngest and I graduated at the same time. So she graduated from high school when I graduated from my master's.
So did you ever feel judged by your decision or your ambition, I should say?
No, actually, I have, including yourself, an amazing group of girlfriends who inspire me all the time, who inspired me to go back to school, who just inspired me to be a better person. And so I was always lifted up in the decision to get my master's and to start a different chapter in life. And
Yeah.
yeah.
So I have felt like with all of the things that we both juggle, we're recording on a Saturday,
Yeah. Yeah.
we're here. And I do have incredibly supportive people in my life by far. And I also am very aware of, how professionally motivated I am. And so being just, keeping that in check and having a balance. But, I have had people say to me, essentially like, but you're missing out on your kids, or like, slow down. And
Yes, don't get me wrong. I get told all the time, like, take a breath.
yeah.
Slow down.
And I'm like, you don't build an empire by slowing down.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. How many days a week do you work? 7.
7.
Literally.
Yeah, it's 7.
Yeah, 7. And sometimes I have to check myself. Like, what am I trying to prove? Who am I trying to prove it to? A lot of times I like to tell myself that I'm trying to make the world and things a better place for my children.
Yeah.
Going back, getting my master's, starting the businesses that I've started and the things that I do. I have 2 girls. I want them to know that they can do anything. And I want them to see me doing what I love doing, what I want to do,
Yeah.
There's tons of fear, but I like to say no fear, and I can't say that there is no fear. There's fear every time I try something new, but I don't want that to hinder me or them.
Right. I think that that's always my go-to is like, I am setting an example for my 2 tiny humans,
Yep.
And, my goal is to leave this world a better place.
Yep. And in what we do, that's ultimately our ethical responsibility and goal.
Right.
Yeah.
But I want my kids to see, that they're able to live the life that they, that they get to have their experiences, and but it's from hard work.
Yeah.
It is from hard work, and you can you can work hard and also figure out, I'm not that I get it right, but like try and find a balance, and you can have a family and you can work. And you can be a good human. I think, that's my main goal is trying to just raise two good humans. Just be kind. Don't be assholes.
That was always my thing at parent-teacher conferences. Like, yeah. But are they nice?
Yes.
Are they good to the other kids?
That's it.
Are they, yeah.
Yeah.
Are they the one that, consoles the kid on the playground that fell and scraped their knee? Are they the one to walk them to the nurse? Are they,
Right.
Are they the one to follow direction and respect the teacher, in a way that they need to? Yeah.
My daughter constantly asks me to go to work with me, to come to work with me. And sometimes she gets to come. Sometimes I'll bring her to the office for a little bit. Her big thing is right now she really, really wants to come to a recording. And so I told her, I said, our last episode, you can come and you can say something.
Nice. I love
So
it.
I was like,
And she will be so insightful. That's the thing. She will pull out something super, and then she'll make us look like idiots.
Yeah.
She's 7. I'm 48. I'm already prepping for it. Yeah.
So, and sometimes I think I feel that guilt. I'm like, does she want to go to work with me because she misses spending time with me because I'm gone? Or does she want to go to work with me because it's exciting and fun and I get to go to work with mom? Or does she want to go to work with me because, what are the driving forces behind it? And I think I get in my head and just feel guilty.
Yeah, no, I bet it's a lot of things. She probably wants to see what you do because she knows you're there when, she's at school. And she probably just really looks up to you and wants to think, okay, what is it that my mom does exactly? Because I think my mom's pretty amazing.
She does say she's going to be a mental health worker when she grows up.
Oh,
That's her explanation of what she's going to be. But yeah, I don't know. I think that the whole working mom concept, for a long time there was the social norm of the woman stays home, the man goes to work, and I feel like we've shifted a lot of that thinking and ideology. And
I love that.
but with that shifting, I think there becomes a whole new layer that we're now diving deep into, which is what does it mean then to be a working mom and how we process those feelings that we're experiencing, because there's still a view of, like I was sharing earlier on, the woman stays home and the man works. And so overcoming those viewpoints and then how they affect us and how our feelings, around that, are kind of shaped and formed. And so I don't know. I do think that at the end of the day, I am setting an example for my kids, and being a working mom, working 3 jobs, trying to really set a good example, be a good person, give back, balance my time, be a good wife, and show it for my kids is really, really hard. And yet, at the end of the day, if you have people around you that love you and support you, they can help make those feelings of guilt maybe associated with being gone so much a little bit easier.
Yeah.
That support system is huge.
Yeah. Can I just throw out a really random thought?
Of course.
So random. But so people said that dogs, when you're gone, they don't have a concept of time. They don't know that if you've been gone for 12 hours or if you've been gone for 12 minutes, right? I wonder, and to some extent, if kids are a little bit like that. I'm not comparing our children to 4-legged animals, but
that's true, because I don't think my son has any idea, especially, or my daughter really. I can tell her in an hour from now, and she...
Yeah, I just wonder if it's more the quality of the time than the quantity of the time.
I would definitely agree with that.
Yeah,
because when you say that, because when I'm engaged and playing, and it's my daughter wants me, let's play a board game, let's play cars, or whatever, doing the thing, doing all the different little things. That time that we're spending together engaging in play versus me laying on the couch.
Yeah.
She views it very differently.
And those are going to become her memories, right? Those are going to become her fond memories, her things that she holds on to when she thinks about raising her own family. And these are the things that were really special to me with my mom. And this was the quality time. And you know what I mean? So I think we beat ourselves up for not always having enough time. And yet I think it's what we do with that time that really matters.
That is, I think you hit the nail on the head there. I also think it should be acknowledged that stay-at-home moms are also working moms.
I mean,
Arguably
this
the hardest working mom.
100%. I think I read a statistic that stay-at-home moms work 98 hours a week. 98 hours a week. So they do not, they're up in the middle of the night. They're up first thing in the morning. They are, yes, I think it is beyond important to point that out.
Right.
That being a stay-at-home mom is hard. You don't even have a place to escape to.
Right. And that's the thing. It's like it's equally as hard whether you're leaving the home or staying in the home, raising the kids first, hands-on all day, every day, or going to work and coming back home. Like the balance, the juggle. I think at the end of the day, this whole topic, this whole conversation around working moms really just comes down to, it narrows down to moms, right?
Totally.
Moms.
Just moms.
And we're all in it together. We're all feeling the same feelings of overwhelm and guilt and shame and wanting to bang our head against the wall and go to the bathroom by ourselves and hide in the closet.
I was just telling that story to my youngest of she just really liked spending time with me. She just liked being by me all the time. And so I would go into I think they call it a water closet in some countries. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But, where there's just the toilet.
Yes.
And I would go in there just to get my 2 minutes of peace, right? Like I just need 2 minutes and sit down. And all of a sudden there is a piece of paper slid under the door with a question or a picture. I mean, it couldn't have been sweeter, right? But all I needed in that 2 minutes was just time to just collect my thoughts and get my shit together so that I, could go on with the rest of the day and be a nice mom or a yes mom and I get that little piece of paper and it just throws you into reality. Like, that's what it's all about.
Yes.
That is what it's all about. Like that little gesture of, I miss you even when you're on the toilet.
That's so real. My running joke about my son is that if he could crawl back into my uterus, he would.
Yep.
Because he would. Let me tell you, from the moment I walk through that door, it's racing to me. And my daughter is racing to me. And I'm like, oh, you've got an old mom. My back's going to go out with you jumping on me. But
there's no better reward.
None. I guess the moral of the story is whether you're building an empire outside of your home or inside of your home, we're all going through it. We're all just figuring it out, struggling.
Grant yourself grace.
Grant yourself grace. That's there you go. There's your takeaway. Grant
There's our takeaway
grace.
for today. Grant yourself grace. You're doing a great job, moms.
Yes, you are.
Yep.
Thank you for listening. I'm Danielle.
I'm Cindy.
Have a good one.